let's talk about Big Thief. I always forget to record the part where I ask you to subscribe, so please subscribe down below. It helps out a lot and it's free, and it lets me know that you want to see more videos like this, and allows me to pump them out quicker. Now the band has 4 full-length LPs, and if I had to assign one word to describe each of them, I think for masterpiece it would be consonant, for capacity it would be dissonant, for UFOF it would be layered, and for two hands it would be stripped back, or bare bones. And while those are each very different adjectives to describe each LP, I think one thing really ties them all together, and that's focus on melody. Now Serge, all music focuses on melody, that's not anything new, what are you saying? You're right, it isn't. But I think for like an alt-rock, indie/folk rock ensemble like Big Thief, the way they approach focusing on melody is super unique and super effective. Just a little background for those of you who might not know. Lead singer and songwriter Adrianne Lenker was actually raised up in a cult. There's like a whole article about it. It's actually a very interesting story. But from a very young age, like preteen, she was being trained to be like a pop star. If I had to take an educated guess on where this focus on melody came from, I would assume it's from that pop training, because pop music, as you know, is very melody centric. But Big Thief as a whole really like to drive melody home with as many elements as they can. At their most obvious melodic emphasis, they'll have drums, bass, guitar, and vocals all follow basically the same melodic line, like in Vegas. On those verses, guitar and bass mirror almost exactly what Adrianne's singing, and James on drums is adding snare accents right on the heels of her words.
All up in Vegas for only 1 week, I caught you tongue-in-cheek by the side of the road of an automobile expo.
But it's not always this involved. We could take a look at a track like Velvet Ring too. That track does something similar but with double-tracked acoustic guitars. Not only do the chords parallel Adrianne's melody, but the picking pattern also matches the pace of her vocal delivery. While we're talking about guitars for a second here, let's talk about guitar tone, because I think Big Thief's is some of the best in the game, hands down. I'm gonna assume Buck is responsible for choosing tone and kind of crafting it, but correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong. Either way, Big Thief guitar tones absolutely kill. Hey, this is Serge post-edit realizing he didn't say why he thinks the guitar tones kill. They're just always unique. They're not just generically washed in reverb. There's always a good balance of delay and reverb and other effects that feels appropriate for the size of the track, never really competing with vocals or anything else in the mix. And guitar itself is just always arranged quite nicely, which I think is hard for a rock band to always get right or control, because guitar is just too fun to jam out on sometimes. Big Thief now lead guitar placement in terms of arrangement and where it comes in a song, mix level, effects change, and all that stuff, while still keeping it Big Thief, which is not easy. And on a more thematic level, I feel like the tone is always there to reflect something already going on in the song, and I feel like that is the case with Shark Smile, talking about like driving down 85, driving 90 miles, and this is very like, I know that's only a small lyrical portion to pick out, but I don't know, somehow I just equate in my mind that tone to driving down 80 miles, 90 miles down a highway at night with no one there. The amount of reverb, the amount of overdrive, the amount of delay, that's just what it sounds like. One sentiment you'll probably hear me come back to a decent amount of times in this video is that Big Thief does not really rely on virtuosic musicianship, even though they're all fantastic musicians. This band is more about raw energy and feel. You can just tell by the way Buck dances when he's playing live. You can tell that this guy is feeling it. I think one of my favorite guitar tones across all the records is the one in Shark Smile. Not only do you get a whole minute of this if you decide to go see Big Thief live, but you get these almost really soulful stabs from Buck during the chorus, and later a pretty solid solo. I think this tone pops so much on this track specifically because it's a little more tame than what Big Thief go after normally. Regardless though, real Big Thief fans listen to the original Shark Smile cut, not the radio edit, because that tone is just too good. Staying on the discussion of feel, let's talk about Adrianne's vocals, because for someone listening to Big Thief for the very first time, that's probably one of the most alluring elements, in my opinion. Now, vocalists, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understand on a very basic level, singing to work is that you kind of have like a tummy and a chest voice where you can, muster a lot of power, but it doesn't necessarily allow you to access your highest range per se. And then you have kind of this head voice that's a little thinner, but it's more precise and allows you to access like more of your upper register. And most well-trained vocalists can kind of move through all these voices without you really realizing, and it sounds really smooth. But what I think is really special with Adrianne is that her head voice just sounds almost like a completely different person to me. It's like this delicate, glassy, almost witch-like voice that sounds totally different than most of the stuff recorded on Masterpiece. I think you get a taste of the full potential of what I'm talking about on the last track of Capacity, Black Diamonds.
He finds his peace of mind in the rivers and the whippoorwill that could follow close behind and then slowly disappear. But I can never leave him. I can never leave him. I can never leave him.
Also, something that's pretty audible, not only on Black Diamonds, but on the rest of the Big Thief discography, is a pretty unique style of drum performance. I don't really know how to put this, but James Kripchenia, please correct me, please tell me how to say it, has a sloppy play style, but in the absolute best way possible. I'm not saying he can't keep time or anything, he's a great drummer, but his play style is like kind of the antithesis of someone maybe from like the R&B world, like Anderson .Paak, who focuses on making his hits super, super tight and concise. He leaves hi-hats open a little longer than you would expect. His snare hits are just a tiny bit offbeat. And as a result, his fills kind of feel like this homogeneous soup of drum goodness, and I love it. That combined with the actual sound and production of the drums, which I think, again, along with guitar tone, is some of the best around, hands down, makes for an absolutely killer rhythm section for Big Thief. I think the best place to take in the sound and feel of the drums would be on a track like Cattails, and shout out to Song Exploder for giving me this intel, but I believe Cattails was recorded all in one room. So when you have a full band in a big room, you kind of have this opportunity to make the drums sound like extra big and huge and cool with some careful extra mic placement. And that's kind of what sounds like is happening here on Cattails. You have this big natural drum tone, messy but on time fills, open hi-hat rolls, and barely on the beat snare hits. Again, this might sound like an insult, but James still keeps time despite playing in this style. And I absolutely love it. Now, I didn't know this until a little after the records came out, so I'm going to say it in case you also don't know it. UFOF and Two Hands were almost released as a single package, kind of like a double album, but, under the same album cover and listing and everything. But then they were separated because, according to the band, they represent two different ideas and ambitions.
So we were maybe going to make a double record, but then decided that it would be too dense. So then we decided to make two records. And we wanted to make them in very contrasting locations. The songs started naturally putting themselves into two different projects. And one became more of like a soundscape, layered and full of like color and added textures. And then the other one just completely bare. That's Two Hands, the one that we made in the desert.
But I think regardless of that separation, you really start to see the Big Thief DNA solidifying at this point. They take everything that works so well on a fundamental level from the first two records and brought it forward to the next two records. Take the title track of UFOF, for example. You have the focus on melody, you have the Adrianne head voice, you have the James playstyle, all in a package of that super soundscapey idea that Adrianne was talking about in the KEXP interview. The only Big Thief thing missing from this track is probably some crazy tone, but trust me, you get tons of that in other places on the record. Contact. Go listen to Contact.
Just like a bad dream, you disappear. Another map turns blue, mirror on mirror, and I imagine you taking me out of here.
So probably the last Big Thief thing I want to talk about depends on everything we've talked about up until this point, and that's use of repetition. You know, earlier in this video, we talked about how Big Thief is big on feel and energy in a lot of what they do. And I think this is what lets them pull off more straightforward repetition than you would expect in a handful of tracks like From, Parallels, and namely, Not. Repeating a melodic line over and over again doesn't really have much impact if there's no variation in the playstyle, right? Like if you said to me, my girlfriend broke up with me, my girlfriend broke up with me, over and over again in the same tone, I don't know if I would feel much sympathy or try to console you, because I'd be like, okay. But if you said, my girlfriend broke up with me, over and over again, and then your voice started to quiver, and then your eyes started to water, and then you collapsed face down on the couch and started bawling and kept saying it, I think that would definitely get my attention more, and I would definitely, be patting your back and telling you it would be okay. This is exactly what Big Thief does, but it's not just with Adrianne, it's with the entire band and how they play. It'll get more intense, it'll groove harder, it'll vary in feel, even if the same compositional thing is happening over and over again. And I'm gonna point to Not to exemplify this because I think it is so crucial to unlocking the full potential of what Big Thief is. Not repeats so many lyrics, namely the word not, and yet you are not bored at any point in the song. It is an absolute ride from beginning to end, from lyrical repetition to guitar tone, to Adrianne having so many distinct voices in just one tune, to the way James is grooving. It's no wonder the live performance of this song is up for a Grammy this year.
Now what you really wanted, nor the mess in your purse, nor the bed that is haunted with a blanket of thirst. Not the hunger revealing, nor the ricochet in the cave, nor the hand that is healing.
And I think this gets at the heart of something bigger with Big Thief. I'm so sorry for all the big puns, but you know what I mean. These four people have been playing with each other for so long, and they spend so much time together outside of music, and somehow you can hear it. And they're just so comfortable in not only their ability, but also in how they decide to do things. And what's breathtaking at this point is that they do it all seemingly effortlessly. And to sum up here and maybe look toward the future, I think Big Thief is in a very rare place that not many bands get to, right? They released something very commercially viable, which was Masterpiece. Then they started trying some new things compositionally on the next record, Capacity, while still retaining a lot of what made Masterpiece great. Then you get this double album essentially of UFOF and Two Hands, where the band has totally settled into their sound, and now they're just trying new things. And what they prove is that if you truly have strong chemistry, you can kind of bring any concept into fruition while still sticking to your roots in a way. In my humble opinion, Big Thief has proven anything a band has ever needed to prove, and with their live performances, even beyond that. The only thing left is to wait for what's next. Now I know I didn't talk about Adrianne's lyrics or songwriting too much in this video, but for me, what got me about Big Thief when I first found them was the sound, and I just felt like that could use its whole own video. If you want me to dive into songwriting, I would actually be happy to, but I figure we can talk about it in the comments below. Drop your favorite Big Thief lyric, and I'll geek out about it with you. But that's all I got for today. Thank you for watching. Let me know who you want to do next down below. I was thinking Andy Schaaf. If you like that idea, comment something about Andy Schaaf. Okay, thanks for watching again. Subscribe, please, and I'll see you in the next one.